Is it a school or a program?
It's a program.
What's the difference?
The program is not a school where the children come every day. They come twice a week. Parents...
They come twice a week online?
No, we are
in person.
In person, yes.
Okay, so twice a week they are there at a brick and mortar place?
Yes.
And how long have you had this program?
We actually started this program during the lockdown in 2020 spring. So this is at the end of our first semester of our third year.
Okay, and tell me, who runs the program?
I do.
You have an educational background?
I do. I have a master's in education.
Does anybody run the program with you?
I have a staff, but I'm the sole director.
Is this an annual program?
We do operate on a semesterly basis as far as payments, but the classes just roll over from first semester to second semester.
And is there a contract?
Yes.
Okay, and you're going to show me the contract that the defendant signed on behalf of his son?
Yes.
Because that's what this case is about.
Yes.
The only interesting part of the case is your son was enrolled in the program. He was terminated from the program for, let's say, misconduct.
That's true.
And it was misconduct that was replicated in violation of the rules at least 3 times.
Kind of.
Not kind of, at least 3 times that you acknowledge.
Okay.
That's not an okay. That's not an okay. That's either a yes or a no. I mean, I read about 3 instances of cheating. You acknowledge that in your answer.
Well, it's different. It's different.
You mean he cheated differently?
No, he didn't cheat differently.
That's what...
I mean, I can explain.
It was explained in the papers.
Okay.
And you weren't there, so you can't explain. But you acknowledge the fact that he cheated. He was given a warning. You were advised. He cheated again. You were given a warning, and he was allowed to continue. On the 3rd such event, the school terminated him. Is that what I read?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you acknowledge in your papers?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, that's a yes. And he was within a semester. You had paid the tuition and then tried to reverse the payment because you paid on a credit card.
Yes, I paid with credit card, yes.
Okay, and then when you got the bill, you challenged that payment, which you had in fact received, and whatever you told the credit card company as a result of what you told them, the payment was reversed and taken off your credit card.
That is correct.
Right. And so they are here now seeking that tuition payment from a court. That's why we're here, to see whether contractually, because this is a breach of contract action, you were obligated to pay the tuition even though your son was not in the program because he was dismissed for cause, which you acknowledge. Are we clear on where we are?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So now I'm going to look at the contract.
I'd like to add that...
Just let me look at the contract first.
Well, if you see contract, they're signed by my party. I want to see it too, because I don't see my name. I sign a contract. That's a statement, probably, or it's a...
It's a payment agreement.
Yes.
That's not a contract.
Yeah, payment agreement is a contract, sir.
But signed by me?
Well, it says signed, Irina and Jack.
Okay.
Is Irina your wife?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So this says, I understand that payments are due even if classes or memberships are dropped, subject to the refund policy. Well, what's the refund policy, and where is that in writing?
It is on our website, and they've signed it. It was a form that they had to sign.
Well, I'd like to see the form that they signed, because I have to see what the terms are of that.
These are the terms of the refund.
Thank you.
That's a screenshot of our website.
Now, the website is unimportant to me. You say you have an agreement signed by them. I'd like to see it.
Well, the agreement that we have signed was the installment agreement, so I'm sorry.
Well, I only have one payment agreement. What I said I want to see is a refund policy. You said you have that they signed. I don't see
They don't sign the policy. They sign the agreement. The policy is a written policy.
Well, I would like to see the written policy.
That's what we have on our website, and it's clearly...
No.
No? Okay.
No, what you have to do is you have to incorporate something by agreement in this contract. If you say the refund policy as outlined in the website, because other than that, it's meaningless.
Okay.
You know, you're saying we have a refund policy, and we assume that you looked on the website to see what the policy is.
We also do go over it in parent meetings with the parents.
That you can't do because you have a written agreement.
Right.
And anything that's outside of that agreement, unless it's referenced in the agreement is inadmissible because the intention of it is to somehow change or modify the terms of your written contract. Okay, so in what month did the defendant's son start the program?
In August of 2021.
And it runs in 2 semesters. And when was he terminated?
He was terminated in February of 2022.
You were in a semester program?
Yes.
So am I correct that the first 2 episodes of cheating were in the first semester?
Yes.
When?
The first one was early in November. It happened to be the 3rd week of our 2nd semester. The next one was a couple of weeks later in the same month of November.
Okay, so the semester had started.
Second semester.
Yes. And on what day in February was he terminated?
He was terminated on February 24th, I believe. Yes.
And when you terminated, the defendant, I assume, paid the entire semester's tuition for the 2nd semester.
The 2nd semester, he signed the installment agreement, which is what you have there.
This is a payment agreement.
Right, that's it.
Well,
He agreed
just
to pay in
a second.
installments.
No, it says, I agree to pay all charges by due dates according to the payment plan. I don't have a signed payment plan from anybody. Do you have one?
I'm sorry, that's what we use for our signed payment plan.
Well, you should use something different. This is not a payment plan. This says he will pay according to a payment plan. I'm looking for the payment plan. You pay by the month, you pay by the semester. How do you pay?
It's a semesterly fee that's broken into 4 payments, so they don't have to pay it all up front.
Okay.
They can choose to, but
And so when was the defendant's last payment?
they paid through the semester,
Through what semester?
2nd semester,
Okay, so they paid in full.
through the installment. So what happens is they agree to be automatically billed. And so every month, a certain amount comes out.
Just a second. So what you're saying is when they sign up, they give you authority to pull out from their bank
Yes,
whatever the tuition is for that month.
right.
Okay. And according to your records, when was the last payment that you received for the defendant's son prior to terminating him?
Prior to terminating him, we received a payment in February.
And you terminated him on February 24th.
Yes.
How much was that payment?
It was, have it right here. You know what? I don't know.
$350 every
It was
month.
300, that's right. $350.
I know, I got charged the extra month, so I know the number.
Okay. So it was $350 that you paid the beginning of February, and he was there in February.
That is correct.
Okay. In what month did you dispute the charge?
Well,
No, not well. I said, in what month?
May. I only realized in May she's been charging.
Just a second.
He was plagiarized by teachers.
It was plagiarized by teachers.
He was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school.
But-
You really have to. Did you pay in March?
It was taken out of my account without me knowing, but yes.
Is that $350?
That is correct.
And did you pay in April?
I did pay in April.
Okay. Now, the May payment, is the May payment the payment that you canceled?
No, on the May, I also paid for a May payment. Looking at my statements, I said, why are we paying for the child? He doesn't go to school anymore. And that's when I called them. And then I called my credit card company, explained to what happened. They said, we are going to charge the money back to your account. And that's when I kind of looked through paperwork. And I'm an immigrant in this country. I don't read really well. I can speak. And my son, he's a young guy, and he knows exactly what it is. And that's what I brought him. I said, can you see, do we owe these people money? And if you guys allow it, I can have Alex to explain what here shows.
Just see it. He doesn't have to explain anything to me.
Okay.
I'm not new to the country, and I was legally trained, so I don't need your son. I assume you're not legally trained?
I am not.
To interpret something, a piece of paper. So now I will look at the piece of paper that you're relying on, but I want to tell you this, sir. I pay the tuition for a lot of people, a lot, because I have 13 grandchildren
Okay.
in school.
Okay.
I'll take that, Kevin. Thank you, I'm sorry. I know that if one of my kids or grandkids goes to school and gets expelled, and I've paid the tuition because I'm not on a payment plan, parents send the bill directly. and so I pay the tuition, but I know if one of the kids in November, once I pay the tuition, gets caught cheating on a test or plagiarizing a paper, and he or she is dismissed from the school, they're not going to give me my tuition back, even though he's not in school. I'm not going to get the tuition back for that semester.
That's true.
That's what I'm telling you. I know that. So now I'm going to see what you want me to read that suggests that in this case, even though your son was terminated for cause from the school for cheating.
Dismissal versus termination is different.
No, it's not different at all. It's this exact same thing. Dismissed, terminated, expelled, all the same thing. If you look them up under synonyms for each other in the dictionary, you will find they're all the same. He was excised from the school because he cheated despite multiple warnings. So he was expelled from cause. I just want you to understand that. Did you go to college?
Currently enrolled.
Currently. Stand up. You look like a nice young man. Where do you go to school?
Cal Poly Pomona.
And who pays the tuition?
I do.
Now, what's your first name?
Alex.
Now, Alex, you do know that if you got expelled from college for cheating in the middle of a semester, you wouldn't get your tuition back for that semester. You do know that?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Well, that's what we're dealing with
Could
here.
I add something?
Sure.
Well, according to their honesty policy, they made a clear difference between dismissal and expulsion.
I'm going to look at it. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so what you gave me now acknowledges that you received the refund policy. Thank you very much, because she wasn't able to prove that she gave it to you, but now you gave it to me, so I know you were given the refund policy when you enrolled your son in school.
So we weren't given, but it's something they have it on their website for you to.
Just a second. Well, then
I
you
didn't
look.
sign.
You don't have to sign. Then you looked at the website. You gave me this. Do you understand?
After
That's what
this
I mean.
happened,
Legal.
I went and tried to understand.
Well,
what
you should have
happened.
done it before.
Well, when
you were
I own a
perfectly
construction
capable of
company,
doing it
when
before.
I sign a contract, I sign and I explain everything.
You
and
just
people get
told me
copies.
5 minutes ago that you didn't sign any contract. Well, now you acknowledge that you signed the contract. I'm just reading this that you gave me.
A contract has to
Yes,
be
sir.
a complete contract. If
Just
there
a
is
second.
something.
For somebody who's, not here, not from this country, and doesn't understand things, you seem to understand things very well.
I know the contract has to be completed.
Oh,
so if I
well,
give
that's
some-
very good. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't know that.
So if I give a contract for a statement, then I say, go in my website to read about our refund policy. That's not part of the contract. That's their rules, no? I didn't sign refund policy.
You don't have to sign a refund policy. You just have to be aware of it.
If I don't know how to get into website or don't know.
You gave me the evidence.
But this
sir.
was done after everything done. I
I'm
looked
not
into
sure.
it. Okay?
You were certainly aware of how to do it, either before or after.
When I sign contract with someone, I disclose everything and they initial and they get copies. I get copies, and that's a legal bonding contract.
Good. What law school did you go to?
None.
Well, there are two things here, but the final piece here says the consequence for academic dishonesty or plagiarism is a score of 0 on the assignment and possibly dismissal from the class.
Okay.
So your son did that in the first semester at least twice. Repeated dishonesty can result in suspension or expulsion. Now you can stand up, because your father says he doesn't understand everything. I think he understands everything just fine. But in case he wants to have you there. Now, when you were discussing this with your father, did you have any conversation with him that suggested to him that, if I went to college and I cheated 3 times or 4 times or plagiarized a paper and I was kicked out of school, I wouldn't get my tuition back? Did you tell him that?
No, we had similar talks, but no, nothing on the school. We talked about, for instance, the signing contract for, let's say, a 1-year lease agreement to live somewhere, but if you breach the contract and they decide to kick you out, it's the same thing as expulsion. You're not required to finish the 1-year contract with them. You don't have to continue paying.
If they decide
What are you
to
kidding?
I am not. If you get evicted from a property, do you have to continue paying the entire year's lease?
Yeah. If you breach a lease, he or she can evict you. And yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease. You have to understand, and your father has to understand, the reason that he was expelled is his fault. And the reason he was expelled had nothing to do with them. It had to do with your father, because you were put on notice that he was plagiarizing and cheating on tests. If what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unluckiest person on the planet. The conduct continued. He lives in your house. How old is he?
14.
14. Well,
I want to ask about this plagiarizing thing, which it is, because remember beginning you asked me 3 times, he was plagiarized by teachers, which I was not
he was
agreeing.
plagiarized by teachers.
Like he was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
Well, then you should have, just a second, then you should have contested it, sir.
Well,
you should have contested it. Did you say?
They don't want him to be out of the school. They don't want him to be there.
No.
What do you do? I mean, you go
what do you
fight
do?
with them?
What do you do? You pay the tuition for that semester because that's your contractual obligation, and you tell your son you better straighten up. And if I have to take you to a psychiatrist, if I have to take you to a therapist, if I have to find a more rigid school environment, I'm going to do that.
Well, he really didn't cheat.
You really have to get this through your head.
When it says cheating, last time he was expelled from school. Do we have a...
No, don't look at her.
That day he had an excellent score on his math, and his last test was his history, and he forgot to learn the history, and he did have a paper with him, but he did not cheat it. Actually, there is no proof he cheated that day.
All right. They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school. How many other students were expelled from the school the semester that this defendant's son was expelled?
0.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're in business of keeping children in school. How many
my
children?
son was that bad for her to expel her.
What? She said they didn't expel any other children. I'm going to ask her, how many children were enrolled in the program at the same time the defendant's son was enrolled in the program?
Approximately 70, 75.
Okay, and of the 70 to 75 students, the only student expelled was the defendant's son.
Yes, ma'am.
That should tell you something, sir. Stop making excuses. Okay. I didn't tell you, he didn't look at the paper, he had it underneath him, but he didn't look at it. Well, plagiarizing. So he copied from somebody on a paper that was supposed to be original work, did it once, he did it twice. Do you understand your son has a problem?
Well, we all have problems.
No, I never had a problem being expelled from school, sir, for cheating. I never had a problem being expelled from school for cheating.
I have lied.
I have 5 children and 13 grandchildren. All have completed college, some professional school. None of them have ever been expelled for cheating. That's a lot of people.
Do you feel it's fair to expel a child from a school because of
cheating?
Cheating?
Absolutely. Not that I usually let people ask me questions, but the answer is absolutely. Because if 70 children are working hard to get good grades and studying and creating original works when they're supposed to create original works, and your son who's getting a 99 on a math test when he's been getting low scores on tests, all of a sudden becomes a shining star one day, and it's a pattern, and then they find another cheat sheet under his bottom. That's something that suggests to the other 70 students that are trying to do the right thing, that it's okay to cheat. And so if you want to cheat on this test to get a 99, it's okay. You can't run a school where you permit kids to mingle with kids who are trying with kids who are cheating. So do I think it's fair? Absolutely. Okay, how much money was reversed by this bank?
$1,050 plus $45, a $15 fee per transaction.
$1,095. Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,095. Sir, your problem is not with the plaintiff. Your problem's with your son.
He's like all of us. He made a mistake. And
No, he didn't make one mistake. I'm going to tell you something. Honestly, I used to say when I was practicing in a different court that if criminals got caught the first time or every time that they committed a crime, they'd stop committing crimes. Problem is, they commit a crime and they don't get caught. And then they commit another crime and they don't get caught. Then they commit the third crime and they get caught and they're brought to court. And their lawyer argues this is their first arrest. Not their first crime, because they can't argue that, but it's a first arrest. So if what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unluckiest person on the planet. Okay, we're done here. 1095, judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
I felt the difference was between the wording, what it means as far as being expelled versus being like sent home.
I'm extremely pleased. This was totally a matter of honesty and integrity. And obviously it stems from the father down to the son.
But he explained that's the same word. And again, that's why you come to court, and she did what she had to do.
We have kids that try to cross the line, come close to that line. But as I mentioned, our instructors are pretty savvy and they're on it, and we can tell pretty much, so.
I am happy finally done. It's been a burden, it's been a stress, and hopefully it's done.
Cheaters never win.
So I think it's really important for the plaintiffs, as the runners of a homeschooling system or a schooling system, to have a better contract for the parents that are signing, especially with a payment plan option. There should be exhibits attached to the signature page, not just referencing, oh, we're agreeing that we read the policy from the website. It's just as easy for you to reprint it, attach it, and require a signature, an initial on the bottom, so that you don't have parents like these that say, I never went to the website, I never saw it.
I agree with you.
If you have problems like this, there's no denying the fact that you initialed each page and each policy.
I think that this is a learning experience because they just started the program in 2020. And this is probably the first experience that they've had. And his name is Chris.
Yes.
Okay. This case is about a truck
Toyota 4Runner, yes, ma'am.
that was titled in your name, about 21, 22 years old, but was in the possession of your son, Chris.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Chris went to jail.
Yes.
And your great nephew moved into that house.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
And you moved into that house with your wife, girlfriend,
Fiance.
fiance. When are you getting married?
So we're waiting on our second daughter in February, so after February.
Okay, well, that's not the way we usually did it 100 years ago in the Stone Age, but I understand that that's the way a lot of people do it these days. Anyway, you moved on to the property. When you moved on to the property, in addition to some other things, there was this truck. When did you give your son the truck? In what year?
It's always been his truck, but I titled it over to him in 2021.
Okay, so you signed over a title to him.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's not your truck anymore. So what are you doing here, suing for it?
He was never able to go and transfer the title or go and register it. So
Because there was not one.
If you say that again, it won't be good for you. We don't shout out here. I run a very organized shop. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay, so you acknowledge that it's always been his truck. Did you buy it new?
I bought it used for
When?
his graduation in 2005.
What's the value of it? Just
Between 3,000 to 5,000, but that's based on 100,000 miles and good condition. So
okay. Chris, stand up, please. On what date did you go to jail?
April 20th, 2022,
How long were you there?
till July 11th.
What were you there for?
Drug charge?
Is that still pending?
No, ma'am.
When you were arrested or when you were incarcerated, was there an engine in this truck? Be very careful in your answer. Was the truck running?
Yes, ma'am.
How many miles did the truck have on it?
Roughly 220,000.
And you were in the house and you disposed of the truck.
Amongst other things, yes, ma'am.
All we're talking about here is the truck.
Okay.
On what date did you dispose of the truck?
In August, whenever me and Susie made a verbal agreement for me to have ownership of the truck because it was no longer running.
How did you dispose of it?
It was towed away to a junk shop and used for parts.
You have any paperwork
I have paperwork for the towing.
Great, I'll see the picture and I'll see the towing receipt. That tells you that it wasn't working.
With the new mileage, about 1,900 to 4,000 would be the
Okay.
range. Again, for good condition.
Okay, and this is an invoice for $75, junk vehicle towed, no keys, no title, doesn't run, wrecked. Kevin? Yes. Show this to Chris. So that's what you're suing for. You're suing for the value of the truck because it's been junked, so you want $5,000. The truck, at best, if it were running, would be $1,900. According to this, it wasn't running. Now, Mr. Tarina?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to tell me the conversation you had with your aunt. Her son was now out of jail because if this happened in August, you got out of jail July 11th.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go?
I went to my mother's house.
And that was before the truck was towed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Chris, did your cousin tell you that the truck wasn't running?
No, ma'am.
When did you find out that the truck wasn't running?
I was always assuming that it was running. I did attempt to contact him, and he told me to come pick up the truck. And I told him I was on my way. I believe it was on the July 15th. We have the text messages here.
I'd like to see them. Okay, so this all sounds very civilized.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Chris, when did it become uncivilized?
It really never became uncivilized. We just, whenever I went to go get it that day, I think something happened and...
I'm not following you.
Okay.
You're all over the place. This all sounds very civilized. He's living in the house now. You were not.
Right.
Some of your stuff was still there.
Correct.
You know each other a long time. He said, some stuff I'll throw away. You said, okay, but the other stuff I've got in the house, come by and pick it up. Okay.
Yes.
At that time, he had to have told you that the truck was not running because he said the truck is at the exact same spot where you parked it.
Right. Well, I just assumed they didn't have the key because a lot of my belongings got thrown away.
Well, they didn't have the key because the tow people said that there was no key.
Right. That's just why I assumed the truck was still in the same spot.
Okay. Now you find out that the truck is not running, right? Because you went there to pick up some of your stuff. Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and that was in July because you said you were coming over July 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
So you came to his house where your truck was sitting.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you find out about the truck?
The truck was still in the same spot and it wasn't running.
Same spot.
Same spot.
Did anybody prevent you from taking the truck when you came?
No, ma'am.
Then why didn't you take it?
Just simply for the key. I didn't have the key to turn it on.
Just a second. April, May, June, and July. So the car had not been touched in 4 months. That's what you're telling me. While you were incarcerated, and if you just said to me the car was in the same spot from the time you left now, and there was no key. So you had no idea whether the truck was running or not, right?
Well, I just assumed that it wasn't running because of the key, the no key.
If you were that interested, you would have found out. You would have called a mechanic, they would have come, they would have jump-started the truck, and somebody would have made you a new key. Then you could have taken the truck. He doesn't have to keep your truck on his property.
Well, first of all, my family member said that they were evicted. They had not been evicted.
What evicted? What does that have to do with the truck?
At the time, Your Honor, he, of course, was incarcerated.
No, he wasn't incarcerated. He wasn't incarcerated when you gave him the truck.
No, he was not.
No, I see. I have the dates here that you told me. He wasn't incarcerated. He wasn't incarcerated for a year, and he didn't transfer the title.
I asked my family member if I was able to go into the house and remove all his items and look for the key and the title so I can have the vehicle removed, and everything was thrown out of the house. So when he came to pick it up, it was gone the next day.
I have text messages right here saying that she doesn't like being lied to and she's gonna go the court route. I had an officer knock on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning and serve me papers, try to give me a Grand Theft Auto charge and have a felony on my name.
Can I see the text message that she sent to you afterwards?
Later.
He says you didn't make any payments.
I never said I was going to pay him that back.
Well, you told me that you asked him if you could borrow some money. That's what this receipt says. I think. No. This invoice was prepared 2 days ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this doesn't say when they took the truck. How did you get this invoice 2 days ago? It was from August.
I got the invoice because I needed it for evidence, and the towing company that sent me that invoice gave me the incorrect day because they sent it to me on the day that they sent me the receipt.
Doesn't say the date it was towed. Junk vehicle towed. You have any email communication or text communication immediately after the vehicle was towed or before?
With her?
Yes.
I called her the day that it was towed because I have respect for my family member. And I said, I'm towing the truck. It needs to get off of my property today. And she said, Mijo, I feel like I should be compensated for the truck. How much do you want for the truck? She said she wanted $500. I told her that I could pay it in monthly increments.
Why would you want to buy a truck that was worthless?
Because I have respect for my family and I hold family very close to me. And if she says that something's not right, I'm going to make it right. And that's what I tried to do. I failed on that first month of I was supposed to give her $100. I did not pay the first $100. I have text messages right here saying that she doesn't like being lied to and she's going to go the court route. I had an officer knock on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning and serve me papers, try to give me a grand theft auto charge and have a felony on my name.
Okay. Can I see the text message that she sent to you afterwards? Did you recall, Ms. Canales, having a conversation with your nephew about $500 for the truck?
No, ma'am, I do not.
My witness
I did
does.
Shh. How was he supposed to pick up the truck when he just got out of jail the day before you had it towed? And I asked for permission to look for the keys and title, but everything was moved out of the garage. At that time, I was taking my mother to the hospital. But it's okay, I just go through the court process. Regardless, you're going to get your money, Aunt Susie. So it's clear that you had a discussion with him about money because he says to you in response to his statement, so I don't see anything here about $500, but he says, I'm going to get you your money. Mm-hmm. Well, you didn't say to him, what money are you talking about?
I just told him I was done.
You said, I'm tired of the back and forth, which leads me to believe that that's exactly what happened. Do you have any other documentation of this communication that you had with her? I mean, it's a useless piece of junk of a car anyway.
The only thing I have is a letter of me mailing her the money order. That letter that I mailed her, I have no idea where it is.
Well, I don't know where it is either, but that's a self-serving document. I don't care. But you acknowledge that you told her that you would pay her $500 for the car. She's the registered owner. Is that correct?
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. I believe you.
Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
He knows he did us wrong, and he knows he's lying right now. This is the only reason why he's acting like that, and that's why the reason my mom is so upset.
It's sad that it had to end that way for a family member because family is something that I hold very close to my heart, and I don't like to see it end that way.
He had free run of all my belongings, and he ended up selling it.
But at the end of the day, it's my livelihood and my fiance's little livelihood that's at stake.
He knows what he did.
I did not take advantage of my own family. Never.
Yeah, it's tore us up a little bit.
It can't be put back together.
Troublesome. I'll tell you some of the troublesome things that I didn't even want to go into with them. He went to jail in April. Mm-hmm. His mother knew where the car was. She could have gone to get the car. She had 4 months.
Yeah.
Her son went to the house when he got out of jail in July.
And all he had to do was do the same thing the defendant had to do, call a tow truck, have it towed to your house.
Right.
Get an extra key made.
Right. And I thought that he was actually a pretty good nephew.
Yeah, I did too. He didn't have to pay for the car, but he felt for his aunt and the situation that she was in. And
well, he was just trying to be respectful and
Yes.
probably keep the peace.
Exactly.
Between everybody. Well, again, no good deed goes unpunished.
I was just about to say that.
Case 2123, Valenzuela versus Jenkins. All parties, please step forward.
Javon Valenzuela claims his former friend, Darian Jenkins, owes for unpaid loans and bail money from a false arrest.
Mr. Valenzuela, it is your claim that the defendant, who is a friend of yours, owes you for some small loans that you made to him.
Yes.
And then it is your claim that he had you falsely arrested.
Yes.
And you want damages for that. You've known him for a while, according to your complaint. You knew him, you were friendly with him, and then he moved out of state and then moved back. Where did you move to, sir?
To Colorado.
And you moved to Colorado from where?
From Texas.
And in Texas is where you knew the plaintiff?
Yes.
In what year did you move to Colorado?
2019.
And in what year did you move back to Texas?
This year, 2022.
And why did you move back?
Why did I move back?
You moved to Colorado for what?
My family was up there, yeah. And then my family went back to Texas.
Oh, so you moved with your family?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Did you live with your family in Colorado?
No, we didn't all live together, no.
The reason you say you came back to Texas was because your family came back?
Yeah.
Did you have a job?
Yes, I did.
Where?
I worked from home
What kind of work?
for a newspaper.
In Colorado?
Yes.
What did you do in Texas?
Whenever I moved back, I was still working from home, but they let me go. I got laid off.
When did you get laid off?
I would say June.
June of this year.
Yes, ma'am.
And what month did you move back to Texas?
Oh, I had already moved back in May.
When you moved back in May, where did you go to live?
I was living in hotels.
But there came a point when you had no money.
It got to a point,
When did it get to a point when you had no money?
maybe July.
And when did you contact Mr. Valenzuela?
I'd say July.
You didn't contact him in May when you came back?
I just want to say that's a lie.
When did you contact him?
I mean, we talked while I lived in Colorado. You know, we always text each other, so.
Well, when you
Sorry.
contacted him in July, what did you say to him?
I couldn't say exactly what I said, but
Give me the gist of it.
let me borrow some money, I guess.
Okay. And you needed it for living.
Right.
And what did he say to you?
He did sometimes if I asked him.
Okay. And how much did he give you?
Here and there, maybe 100, maybe two.
No, all together.
Altogether? Oh, I couldn't say how much altogether.
You couldn't
Maybe-
say.
I couldn't say, maybe a few hundred.
Did he give you money for housing?
A couple times he did.
How much?
100 here, 100
Do you have a
there.
record of how much you gave him, sir?
I do.
Okay, because he's already said, and would you read that back to me, Whitney, please, about borrowing?
Said, let me borrow some money.
Right, okay, let me borrow some money. So tell me how much money you let him borrow.
$1,200.
Show me. Okay, now tell me what that is that you're giving him, all those papers that you expect me to read.
These are screenshots of every time I sent him money.
Oh, can I see it, please? Okay, get ready, Sarah Rose. Anybody who came could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that money.
He agreed to pay me back.
No, he's already told me that he called you and asked if he could borrow some money, and you said yes, and he said, I don't know how much it was. So if he doesn't know how much it was, you have screenshots of it, and Sarah is going to add them all up. Okay. Of all the money that you said that you borrowed from him, how much did you pay back?
120.
Good guess. Did he give you back $120?
No.
Did he give you back anything?
No.
Nothing ever.
No.
Okay. So while Sarah is adding that up, there came a point when you left the hotel. Is that right?
Yes.
And Mr. Valenzuela probably got tired of giving you money and it said that you could stay in a spare room in his house.
For the most part, yes.
And you moved in August of 2022, the end of August.
Yes.
And then in September, you had a fight. I don't care what the fight was about. It became physical.
He was physical, yes.
No, I wasn't, Your Honor. No,
Okay.
I wasn't.
Let's say you had an argument that spilled out into the street, because this becomes very important, because there's the other charge is false arrest. And it was a false arrest, you claim, based on his statement to the police that you assaulted him.
Right.
Right. He says, yes, you had an argument, but you weren't arrested on his allegation that you assaulted him, but you were arrested and held on an outstanding warrant. When the police responded, they found that there was an outstanding warrant. So now I want you to tell me, in September of 2022, did you have an outstanding warrant? That's either a yes or a no.
Well, it was on a payment plan.
I don't care what it was. Did you have an outstanding warrant?
Yes.
And the outstanding warrant was for a what?
Traffic tickets.
What kind of traffic ticket?
I think I was speeding and I didn't have my license either.
So speeding, driving without a license. What else? You have insurance?
I think it was insurance.
Not think. Speeding, driving without a license, and no insurance.
And no tags.
And no tags. And for that, you got fined.
Yes.
And you didn't pay the fine.
I was paying it.
Well, there wasn't a warrant outstanding because you were cooperating and paying the fines.
The county that I'm in, they said, the police officer said It doesn't matter if you're on a payment plan. They'll arrest you if they want to.
Mr. Valenzuela, did you miss payments on your fine?
Yes.
Perfect. And so when the police responded to this kerfuffle that was out in the street, when they ran both your names, your name came up with an active warrant.
Yes.
Well, that's easy. So that you were arrested on the outstanding warrant.
I would have never been arrested, though, if he wouldn't have acted.
If he didn't call the police.
No, he didn't call the police.
Who did?
My neighbor did, because the way he was acting.
So your neighbor called the police, but for the outstanding warrant, I don't know whether the police would have taken you into custody. You had an injured lip. They could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that happened. It's really not relevant to this case. But if I were the police and I showed up, you didn't have any visible injuries, right? No, you had a busted lip. If you both are alleging that there was a fight, police would look at you and say, well, he's injured. He's got a busted lip, got to sew it up. They wouldn't have arrested you unless you had a warrant, right?
Right.
Good. So that's not his fault that you had a warrant. It's not his fault.
I have that total. It's $2,727.56, and that's including some direct payments to Motel 6s and other housing accommodations.
Includes that?
Yes, in addition to direct payments to the defendant.
Great. He says you didn't make any payments. $27.27.
I mean, there's no way he expected me to pay. I never said I was going to pay him that back.
Well, you told me that you asked him if you could borrow some money. That's what you said.
A couple times I asked to borrow money, but the entirety of that, all that, like, I didn't say I was going to pay that back. And he should know he was just being nice.
He was being nice.
Sometimes he offered.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
You have a job now?
Yes.
Okay, great. 27-27, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think he was just mad overall, so he just picked something to get me back with.
Just like he said, he thought I was being nice. Why would you say you're going to pay me back, but then not pay me back?
He was screaming, he was screaming, just screaming, cussing, like, embarrassing.
He was acting crazy, and because he was acting crazy, woke up the whole neighborhood.
Well, he was drunk, going crazy outside, running around the apartment complex, so she called the cops on him.
That's what made my neighbor call the cops, and that's why they came.
Oh, no, there's no friendship. It's gone. Yeah.
Don't have friends like that, but also don't bite the hand that feeds you. That thing comes good out of it, so.
Just something funny from the receipts that I was looking at. Some of them say, the price really big on Venmo or Cash App, and then it just says completed at the bottom. On some of them, though, you could see heart emojis that the defendant sent thanking him, basically acknowledging that he received the money payment, sent a red heart emoji, and some of them were at very odd hours of the night, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, some direct to Motel 6, some direct to other housing accommodations.
It's so interesting.
But I liked the receipts. I liked the
I never
paper trail.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
made it easy.
It's true. Mm-hmm. And because when people say I gave him cash, and
even with an ATM slip, you never really know if the cash transferred hands
but this actually